Okay, we are recording. Hi, I'm Russell Quirk, and I thought it would be very interesting to talk about coaching. And my friend here, who I've known for a while, Jason Cannon, is such a person. And the reason, hi, Jason, by the way, say hello to everybody.
Hello, Russell. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. So I think there's some misconceptions about performance coaching and almost a bit of a stigma, a bit of a taboo. Now, obviously, you and I know each other from our Keller Williams days. I rarely talk about this just because it never comes up in conversation, but I'm going to talk about it now. For the last kind of year or so, I've had a performance coach that I speak to on a fortnightly basis. And I guess, look, before Jason, you kind of talk about what your view is, and obviously your bias. Let me just talk about what my experience has been. So I think it's pretty well documented. I've been through the mill, I suppose, in business terms. I've had lots of businesses. Actually, newsflash, all of them successful that I've made money from, either day to day or from an exit perspective. So generally kind of estate agency businesses, property development, recruitment, and so on, with one exception, which of course is eMove, which is the famous failure that Russell Quirk should hang his head in shame over. But I now obviously run a PR business, which is nearly 5 years old, going very, very well. And I do other stuff. I do a bit of consultancy, and obviously I do a bit of media. Anyway, I was introduced to someone, Cynthia Moore is her name, at an event a year or so ago. And I thought, actually, she makes a lot of sense in terms of just being, you can call it a shoulder to cry on, you can call it, someone to vent your spleen at or whatever. Anyway, I started dealing with Cynthia on a 1 hour per fortnight basis about 12 months or so ago, just to talk about general kind of business direction, goals, how to achieve them, issues, problems, anything that's kind of bothering you. And here's the thing for those watching that think, oh, coaching's a bit wanky, or coaches are for people that don't know what they're doing, right? Nothing could be further from the truth, as I'm sure you'll say in a minute, Jason. So anyway, I started dealing with Cynthia. And my experience has been that I've never had a situation on a call with Cynthia where I feel that I'm being kind of directed or told what to do or dictated to in any way. It's very much, and I know this is a bit of a kind of fluffy term, but it's very much, my experience has been one of kind of self-discovery. You spend an hour talking about something, and at the end of it, you think, oh, hang on, I think I've just found the answer, even though it wasn't delivered to me on a plate, but I've talked it through sufficiently where the coach has asked the right questions sufficient to get you to a point where you kind of clarified things in your mind, or maybe filed things in your mind neatly enough to then come up with the answer. So look, that's been my experience. It's been very, very positive, very refreshing. I kind of look forward to that call. In fact, I've got one this afternoon. So what would you say coaching is, Jason, for those watching this that are either fearful, skeptical, or just think that they're so good because they're a, Bear Steweve's office manager that's done the job for 23 years. I know everything that there is to know about estate agency because I've been doing this job for 23 years. I don't need a coach. Jason Cannon.
Yeah. Thank you, Russell. It's lovely to hear your story. And, as somebody who I respect a lot, I think we worry too much about asking for help, don't we?
Yeah.
You don't have a problem with going to well, actually, we do have a problem going to the doctor and asking for help. Men do anyway. But you've experienced this. A great coach will ask you a question that you would not necessarily ask yourself, but more importantly, you're sometimes afraid to be honest with yourself, Russell. Yeah. So it's controlling that narrative. It's controlling that sometimes negative voice in your head. And what a great coach will do is offer a different perspective to, where are you going? What's the journey? Where do you want to get to? And what questions can that coach ask you to unlock a whole load of possibilities? So that's why I love coaching. And I was talking, funny enough, to a business owner this morning, and I was talking about lots of people call themselves coaches, but actually, I can't call myself a doctor because I need to go and get a qualification to call myself a doctor. But you can call yourself a coach. without any real qualification. So what I did was, whilst I've got lots of business experience, I can mentor somebody, I didn't actually have that, whilst I'd been doing some coaching and some consultancy, I didn't have that recognized professional qualification. And to me, that was really important.
Right.
So
And what is that, Chase?
why is it important to me?
No, what is it? What is the qualification?
I have a coaching qualification as an executive coach. So it means I've in effect I've gone back to school and I've learned systems and models, how to have a great coaching conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
There is a difference between a coach and a mentor. You know this because I could use you as a mentor. I could call Russell up and say, mate, what do you think about this situation? I'm going to lean on you for your business and PR experience. But if I want a coaching conversation, it's a different conversation.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
very different.
Your mentor is very much, so take agents together as an example. I think mentoring is imparting direct experience and knowledge to someone. So you're basically telling them, hey, this is my experience, and you can then do something with that or not. Coaching, I've found a very different and much more kind of subtle and exploratory and kind of self-discovering type of experience where it's not about someone saying, well, I did this once and this is how it worked out for me. It's very much someone saying, well, okay, well, why do you think that's an issue? Is it really an issue? How do you think that is perceived by others? It's a coach asking you questions so that you gain kind of balance, context, and so on. And you just end up with clarity, And I should say, Jason, by the way, so I'm not being paid to do this with you, and you and I don't have any commercial relationship. So just to be clear, I'm not doing this video with you because there's any commercial advantage. I'm doing this because you and I bumped into each other the other day at an event. I asked you how you were doing. Your response was actually really interesting and fascinating. And I happened to say to you, actually, I have a coach, and why don't we do a video about this? So that's exactly why we're doing it, right?
Yeah. So I'm interested. Why do you think it is then that I think there's about 82% of CEOs have a business coach. Why do you think it is that, especially in the real estate space, why do you think it is, particularly in the UK, that so few business owners have a coach, use a coach? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think maybe, I suppose it almost becomes a kind of a vicarious circle, doesn't it? So if there aren't that many people that have coaches, they don't talk about it, and therefore there's no kind of conversation about it either face to face or on LinkedIn about the fact that there's a kind of a coaching imperative going on. So the fact that it isn't happening means that it doesn't get talked about, therefore it doesn't happen on a wider basis. So I think in other sectors, in corporates, it's absolutely encouraged, isn't it? But I think in the real estate / estate agency, whatever you want to call it, environment in the UK, I know I'm always very hard on the industry when I say things like this, but I'm afraid it is true. We're just not as good as we think. So we do think as agents that because we were a good lister, a good valuer, good branch manager or whatever, that we kind of know it all. And we should take a step back from that attitude as agents, I think, as any business owner. I mean, to think that anyone knows it all and can't learn or innovate or try and improve their approach to things, their business, their attitude, their systems, their processes, whatever, their lifestyle even. Anyone that thinks that they can't improve as a 30, 40, 50 or 60-year-old, I mean, think about that for a second. That's really, really naive. I mean, look, here's the example I always think of when it comes to coaching. How many football teams don't have a coach? How many tennis players don't have a coach? Formula One drivers, tennis players, football players, rugby players, athletes, they have multiple coaches. In tennis, for instance, it's something that my family is pretty obsessed by. You'll have a coach that focuses on serves. You'll have one that focuses on volleys, potentially, one that is about fitness, one that is about technique, another one that's about tactics. Pretty famously, Emma Raducanu, who won the US Open, whatever it was, 3 years ago at a very young age, she's been frankly shit since. And guess what?
Yeah.
She hasn't had a coach. for years
Yeah.
because either she's difficult to work with or she hasn't found the right one or whatever. So why is it that a lot of people in a estate agency presumably subscribe to the view that footballers, football teams, tennis players, and F1 drivers, well, of course they have a coach. Of course they do, because they're constantly having to improve and, tweak and take bad habits out of their game. Why don't we think that applies to someone that owns an estate agency business?
I don't know. It's interesting. I think if you have a good relationship with your coach, then part of that contracting conversation that you have at the beginning of the relationship is about challenge. Is it okay to challenge you, Russell? And how much can I challenge you? If this is genuinely a goal you want to achieve, this is generally something you want to improve. How much can I challenge you? And is it okay to challenge you? Because we don't challenge ourselves enough.
Yeah.
And what a good coach will do is also give you that accountability that you need. Yeah.
Yes.
That you might say, I need to go to the gym 3 times a week. I need to improve my processes. If you were left alone to go to the gym three times a week, or you were left alone to improve 3 of your processes or 1 of your processes, would you do that without that accountability?
Without the personal trainer banging on your front door at 7 o'clock in the morning saying, come on, we're going. Yeah, no, exactly right. And I think, it is pretty astonishing that we have, maybe it's a British thing, maybe it's an estate agency thing, I don't know, that arrogance where we think, no, we kind of know it all, we can't be taught. Maybe it's a lack of humility and overconfidence or whatever. But I think we need to kind of get over ourselves, really, because it's my experience, particularly as someone that, I get challenged a lot on social media. In fact, I've been having a huge row today about landlords and tenants and, whatever. I get challenged a lot, if I do media and if I'm having an argument, socially, if you like. But when you own a business, with or without business partners, but particularly without business partners, you don't have anyone to challenge you. So therefore, there is no test, there is no scrutiny as such. So you have to be self-disciplined. And there's also, the accountability thing, I think is really important. Whether you're about to run a triathlon, or perform a triathlon, run a marathon or whatever, having that accountability to keep you going and to keep you authentic and to keep you accountable and responsible, can be very much the difference between completing that event or that task or not, but I think the purpose, I think, of this video is to talk about not just the merits of coaching, because they should be pretty obvious, really. A third party with experience and knowledge, not necessarily of you and your business, but of how to improve things, how to get the most out of your day or your business or your health and fitness, whatever. It's shrugging off the shackles of the embarrassment or the unwillingness to say, I have a coach. And it's funny, all of the good people in the industry that I know and outside of the industry not only have a coach, most of them, but they don't mind admitting it. They don't mind admitting to, talking about the fact that, and coaches, by the way, coaches have coaches and so on.
Yes.
So, I think it's a stigma that we need to, it's a bit like mental health. It's a bit like men's health. It's a stigma that we need to get over on the basis that, do you know what? No one thinks you're perfect. No one as an individual thinks of you as an individual, as someone that's completely unfallible. That if you were to say, fail my driving test for the 3rd time, or, I'm getting divorced, or I've just lost a big client, shit happens. So what? I mean, it doesn't make you. It's a bit like the failure of eMove, right? I'm often described, it's almost like I should be defined by that failure, which, by the way, now was 5 years ago. Although it was kind of catastrophic at the time and it affected me and my family and my finances hugely, I don't think about it anymore, because what I've done is to pick myself up and move forward. But, to try not to feel that you can learn from experiences guided by someone that can help you for an hour a fortnight or an hour a week or an hour a month or whatever, it's mindless. You wouldn't try and learn to drive a car to pass your test without a coach, would you? So
no, you wouldn't.
Why do we think we can go through life in business knowing it all, particularly those people that don't read much and don't kind of have much to do with outside influences. So how do we get over this problem, Jason, of trying to, apart from doing videos like this, how do we get over this problem where in the estate agency industry, where there are 100,000 people, all of whom could benefit from that clarity, that performance enhancement? How do we encourage them to bite the bullet and, talk to a coach on an informal basis to say, in the first instance, can we have a chat about what you do and how this works? How do we do that?
Yeah, I think we embrace the word possibility, Russell, because we're negative, aren't we, in different aspects of our life. But if I introduce the word possibility to you in a conversation, is there a possibility that working with a coach is going to help you get to where you want to get to a bit more quickly? Is it going to help you? Is there a possibility it's going to give you some clarity over your goals? Yeah. What is it you're spending your time on at the moment that you should be spending doing something differently? So there was an expression that I liked a few years ago: the quality of your questions will have a direct influence on your income. And that really resonated with me as a coach, because my life as an estate agent, I knew that if I had better questions for my clients, better questions for my vendors and my buyers, that would help them discover, actually, what is it I want? What am I motivated to do? Am I really motivated to sell, or am I just on the market because I fancy just trying it out?
Yeah.
I'm really motivated to buy. So it's uncovering that motivation. And, for me, it's about that there is some pain somewhere. It's finding that pain. It's quickly getting to what is the motivation? What's motivating you? And is there a possibility that by working with a coach who asks you the right questions in the right order, that actually you'll self-discover that I do want this, or conversely, I don't want this?
Yeah.
Not everyone. Yeah, not everyone's driven by money and riches. The riches to them are getting some time back with their family. So it's very process driven. It's getting to know the person and saying, can I help this person? Does this person want help? Do they need help? What things do they value? What are the blockers for them? Where's the pain? What's getting in the way of their success?
Yeah.
And I've got a choice, same as you have. You've got a choice of who you work with. Are their values aligned to Russell's values? Do you see that you can add value to that relationship? And if the answer is yes, then you say, I can do this. I know what I'm doing. Let's work together. Equally, if you say, I don't, I've got a choice. I don't have to work with you. And so you can pick and choose who those who you have those relationships with.
Obviously, we have a shared history in Keller Williams. Obviously, you were running Keller Williams Bromley. Obviously, I was an investor in Keller Williams Essex, so which obviously is how we met. If I'm really honest, and I will talk about this in much more detail at a future date, I'm sure, I didn't take much from my Keller Williams experience positively, frankly. But one thing I did take was talking to people at a high level in Keller Williams, particularly in the US, and their coaching approach, their coaching culture, which actually was pretty dominant, actually. I remember hearing a stat that apparently had been proven to be correct, that those agents that had a coach banked 18% more each year than those that didn't have a coach. Now, if you're at a high level, particularly if you're a US agent banking, $500,000 a year, 18% is quite a lot of money. It pays for itself, but it should also make people realize that there is a difference. And even if it's just, a thing that I need badly, really, time management. I'm terrible at juggling too many things, rushing around kind of 14, 15 hours a day, trying to squeeze way too much into a day because I want to be productive and I want to be successful. Even just working out how to manage your time better can mean more income. And the other thing, kind of before we wrap up, rather than this being a big epilogue, is, using the football analogy again, most people that are football fans will very much understand not only that football teams and footballers as individuals have coaches, but that there's a difference between one another. So, if you look upon someone like Alex Ferguson being a god of football managers and coaches, then if you accept that because you're a football type person and you say, yeah, look, Alex Ferguson was the best manager that we've ever had in this country, not the world. Well, on that basis and based on Manchester United's record and success, we must therefore also accept that he as an individual in terms of his management and coaching style made a difference, right? Well, if that's the case, then you can't possibly argue that having a coach is a worthless and pointless endeavor. You're admitting, if you accept the Alex Ferguson being great analogy, as most people do, or Jose Mourinho, whoever you want to kind of cite. Who was the other one? The Nottingham Forest guy from years ago, Brian Clough. Remember him?
Brian Clough.
Hard-nosed, but, fantastic coach, whatever. We accept the premise of better coaches existing and being good at what they do. So therefore, we accept the premise that a coach makes a difference. So why wouldn't a coach make a difference to you as an individual?
Yeah, and the relationship I have with my clients, Russell, is we work together for 1 month at a time, and if you don't see the value in continuing that relationship, then we part ways. Yeah. So for me, it's about maximum value for that person. If I genuinely believe that I can help them and I understand them, and as humans, we have a desire to be understood, don't we? Yeah. That's front and center of us as people. We want to be understood. So, a coach will ask you the right questions, as I said, in the right order to get to understand you, build rapport with you, and build trust. And let's talk about your options. What can you do in this situation? You've got the tools, you've got the information. You just need somebody to extract it and pull it out of you. Yeah. And then if that's what you really want, to have that level of accountability with that coach, then that's going to help you get to where you want to get to more quickly.
Okay, final question. Who can't be coached?
Who can't be coached? It's got to be somebody that wants to be coached. I learned this in hypnosis a few years ago. Yeah. Because believe it or not, I'm a qualified hypnotherapist as well.
Okay. Don't get me doing strange and funny things on this video, Jason.
If you don't want to quit smoking, then a hypnotherapist can't help you. You've got to want to do something. So if you want to understand yourself better, then and you're open to that, the possibility that having a coach is going to help you be the best version of you. That's the key thing, isn't it, Russell? Yeah. And when I look, and I said this to you last time we met, in a friendship way, purely friendship, you clearly are in a good place and you've had help with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You as a strong man in a competitive environment, you've said, I want to be the best version of myself. I'm going to make an effort at various things. And if I have a coach that can help me unlock my true potential, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, mate. Look, I'm, obviously, I've my journey from kind of to eMove and out of eMove into where I am now. I'm definitely in a better place, I think, in terms of contentment, happiness, finances than probably I've ever been. And definitely some of that I attribute to inward-looking kind of self-awareness and a willingness to want to be the best version of yourself. Albeit, I know that sounds like a cliche, but it doesn't mean it's not true. A lot of that I attribute to that kind of that realization, that acceptance that you can kind of get some professional help and support in that, and it's not. Again, that now makes people think, oh, it's therapy. It's getting inside your head and, talking about, the fact you're an only child and your dad was never around or whatever. It's not that. That's therapy, right? That's a different thing. This is about that self-discovery to getting to clarity around goals, process, strategy, improvement, whatever, that just helps you run your life, particularly from a business point of view, better. So look, my message, I think, to anyone watching this is, look, just reach out, whether it's to you, Jason. So Cynthia Moore, who obviously I've got to give a hat tip to as my coach, will be, she's based in Scotland, and she's got nothing to do with real estate. So she coaches all sorts of people across lots of different industries, or whoever, I guess. And look, we should be fair here, search on LinkedIn or whatever. But Jason, you obviously are a great start, particularly for those in the estate agency and property industry that are watching this, because you understand the sector, and I think that really helps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Not intended to be a promotion to kind of, feather Jason Cannon's nest. This is just an interesting conversation around the benefits of a coach, but also I think the taboos around it. And I hope as a consequence, a few people reach out to you just to see if they can kind of kick the tires and see if you or other coaches can help them. So final word from you, mate.
Yeah. I think mastery, I realized it a few years ago that, I'm master of nothing at the moment. And I'm on that path to learning about myself first and learning what makes me tick and what I get the most joy out of. And, mastering anything requires professional help. It requires professional people. If I want the best PR, then I'm going to talk to my friend Russell. If I want to be the best version of myself, I'm going to talk to a coach. So be open to possibility and understand that we have all the tools we need to be anything we want. We just need to be open to that suggestion and possibility. I'll leave that. Thank you so much, Russell. As always enjoy your time together. So really appreciate it.
Well, I hope this has been helpful to those watching. So look, forget the taboo, kind of get over that, and just kind of reach out. So, Jason, thank you. This has been interesting and hopefully informative to anybody that's bothered to watch it. All right, till next time. So, thanks again.
Cheers, Russell.